Hey fourth grade, we are back with another science lesson today. In last week's video, we talked about Earth Day, climate change, and pollution. This week, we are going to dig deeper into pollution and how it affects us. Simply put, pollution is when the environment is contaminated by harmful substances that hurt living things. Contaminated means something has become dirty or harmful. So when we say that the environment is contaminated, we mean that harmful things were added to the environment or nature to make it dirty. Can you remember what the three main types of pollution were from the last video? The three main types of pollution we last talked about were air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution. To review, air pollution is when particles from burning fuel called fossil fuels end up in the sky and become smoke or smog or even acid rain. Fossil fuels are energy sources made from dead plants and animals, such as coal, oil, and gas. When we burn them, they produce toxic substances in the air. Next, water pollution is when chemicals or trash contaminate the bodies of water like lakes, oceans, and rivers. If you've ever visited the Schuylkill River, the river that splits Center City from West Philly, you may have seen trash thrown in it or murky water that comes from chemicals. And third, land pollution is when garbage and waste end up on the ground or in landfills. You probably see land pollution the most frequently, like when you go outside and you see the trash on the streets. Now, here are some quick facts about pollution around the world. First, approximately 50% or half of the globe's population has to deal with polluted drinking water, meaning that the water they drink is polluted or contaminated. Also, around 250 million diseases caused by polluted drinking water are reported every year, which leads to anywhere from 5 to 10 million deaths every year. And lastly, in the United States, a little less than half of the rivers and lakes have too much pollution in them for fishing or swimming to happen. In Philadelphia specifically, there is a fossil fuel refinery in South Philly called Philadelphia Energy Solutions, or PES. It is the largest refinery on the East Coast and one of the oldest in the world. This refinery's fossil fuels poison Philadelphia's air and water, threatens the health and safety of nearby communities and people, and even contributes to climate change. This refinery is responsible for over 50% of the toxic air released in the city of Philadelphia. As a result, the American Lung Association regularly gives Philly a letter grade F for air quality. The dangerous air quality has led to a citywide childhood asthma rate that is 2 to 3 times the national average. Toxins released from the refinery cause very harmful effects, from headaches to even cancer. The PES also pollutes Philadelphia's water with significant amounts of toxic substances such as lead. And finally, the PES even had an incident last summer where it exploded and released tons of toxic chemicals and acid in the air. Let's see if you remember seeing this incident on the news.
A fire breaking out and a massive explosion at Philadelphia Energy Solutions refinery in Philadelphia. Dramatic footage. You see it here. PES runs a 335,000 barrels a day refinery there. It is the largest and oldest oil refinery on the East Coast. Philadelphia fire officials say that one employee complained of chest pains this morning, but no other injuries have been reported, and that's phenomenal and amazing considering there are 1,100 people who work there.
If we continue to pollute the city with fossil fuels like PES, climate change would become much worse, much faster. If we continue, in the future we could see 10% of Philadelphia's population lose their homes by sea levels rising. We could also start to see more extremely hot days. And finally, the air pollution would escalate, and it could increase the illnesses such as asthma. So overall, using fossil fuels is not a good long-term strategy for us or the environment. However, we have some good news. Environmental activists and organizations in Philly, such as Philly Thrive, fought for over 4 years and finally won to permanently close down the PES this past February. This means the PES will no longer pollute our beautiful city. However, we must continue to make sure no other businesses try to harm it moving forward. Now let's focus on the solutions for pollution. Some things we can do to help the environment, but other solutions are dependent on the bigger businesses and industries. So let's take a look at what we all can do. One of the most famous solutions to pollution is something called the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce the amount of stuff you use every day. Then, reuse those materials you use. Finally, when you're all done with your materials, recycle it instead of throwing it away in the regular trash. Something else you can do is to limit your transportation. Instead of driving a car or taking the car to go somewhere, try biking or riding a bus or the subway. And lastly, something we can do is to clean up after ourselves and others. If you see trash lying around in the environment, pick it up and throw it away, or recycle it. If everybody uses these small solutions every day, we could help the environment. However, most of the damage done to the earth is out of our control. It's up to the bigger and global companies and businesses to fix them. Some of the things they should do is to use renewable energy instead of fossil fuels. Renewable energy are sources such as solar power and wind power, things that can be reused instead of fossil fuels. Another thing they should do is to minimize their waste. If they have leftover food or resources, instead of throwing them away, companies should give them out and donate them to people who need it. And lastly, all businesses should require practices to be eco-friendly. This way, even the bigger companies that use more resources and more energies can be eco-friendly too. To conclude, let's revisit our objective for the week. By the end of this week, I can describe the effects of pollution by identifying a current environmental issue and explain a solution to the problem. Well, at the beginning, we discussed the damaging effects of pollution when we went through the different forms of pollution and also talked about Philadelphia's refinery, PES. We also identified current environmental issues such as climate change, air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution. And finally, we explained a solution to each problem at the end. Now it's your turn to do this on your own by completing a research project. This research project is due by 4 p.m. on Friday, like all assignments. First, you will choose one environmental issue we discussed in this lesson or one you want to learn more about. Next, look online to gather information about how your issue has a negative impact on our planet. Then, figure out or research a solution to this issue. While you complete the research part, fill out this worksheet. Finally, combine all of your information into one large essay. You can write it like a story to make it interesting, or you can keep it strictly informational. Your essay must be at least 2 paragraphs long, which is at least 10 sentences. I'll list different websites you can use to complete the research part on our Google Classroom page. Good luck and have fun with it!